Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the front spring on the note. So I've got to take these nuts out. Now to get to the third nut, Nissan handily put it behind this plastic piece. There's a little plastic clip which you take out there, like a pop clip, and underneath here you can see, look if I can get to it, here and again here, where the plastic and the metal are sandwiched together, and they use these kind of clips. So this has got, I don't know if you can see, it's got little teeth inside, and what you need to do is lift these middle plastic pieces up and the one down, and then you can pull them away from the sandwich of material. They are quite awkward, and if they're old like mine are, this one's broken on one side. We'll have to see what happens when we need to put it back together. But you only need to take the first two off, and you can then lever up the plastic enough, and in there you can see, well, you maybe can't, there you go, look, there's nut number 3. So take that nut out, this one, and then we'll jack the car up, take the wheel off, and we'll have to take it out from underneath and disconnect everything underneath. Now you may have noticed I've taken the nuts off the windscreen wipers here. Some videos on YouTube tell you that you need to take the wipers off and take the whole plastic thing off. I've not found that to be true. I've got that nut out. With an extension you can get a socket on the one that's in the little pocket under here, and I've unscrewed this one, but just left it in place until I can get the car up off the ground, and I'll take it off then. Right, next thing to do is jack up the car, get it on axle stands, because you might need your jack later on. Okay, I've jacked the car up. I've got the axle stand on the jacking point, so you will have to jack it up somewhere else underneath on something strong, like, you know, a nice thick bit of structure. I've got the wheel ready, 2 wheel nuts out, 2 loosened off, and there's our strut appearing. Next thing, take the wheel off. Okay, so the fun begins once you get the wheel off. So this is the strut with the spring on, which is broken off at the bottom here. 3 nuts at the top, which I've already shown you. We're going to take the whole strut out and then compress the spring, and you can take the top of the strut off and then get the spring out. So what you have to do is you have to loosen off this cable, which is for the ABS, and it just sticks in 2 little clips, one either side, and that comes away. There's a clip here, it's like a metal clip that's holding the brake hose in place. I've sprayed that with a bit of lubricant. In fact, I'll give it some more. We'll try and get that out in a bit. We also need to undo this. This is the, what they call the stabilizer, but actually fixed to the anti-roll bar with a ball joint at the top and the bottom. This one is absolutely rusted on. I'm really struggling. There's a nut on both sides. So what happens is when you try and undo this one, all you end up doing is undoing the one on the side, or the thread. So I'll do that again. When you undo this, what happens is this is kind of welded onto this thread, and all it's doing is turning the nut on the back. The thread, thankfully, they obviously know this happens because they've put a hex end in there so you can get an Allen key in it. I can't move this one, I'm going to break something, so I'm taking a slightly different route, and I'm going to undo the one at the bottom. It's exactly the same, it's just a rod with one at each end. I'm going to take the bottom one off, and this will have to just stay attached to the strut while I change the spring. And then the other 2 we need to get off are these 2 whoppers, and then the strut will, in theory, come out when we've undone the last nut up there, of course. Right, I'll continue to get this off, and then we'll have an update. And hurrah, we have the bottom one off. So at least this will just have to come off with the whole thing. I've started to take these out. These are 18mm this side, and you need to probably hold a 16mm on the other side to get it to undo. These are really rusty. Once these are undone, we'll get this clip off the back, and then the whole strut, once we've taken the top bolt out, will come away. Good thing about this, there'll be no alignment problems because everything are in proper bolt holes. So take this nut out, clip off, and then strut out. Okay, so I've got just a bolt just holding everything in place, otherwise the strut will be flapping around all over the place. I've managed to get this clip off. As you can see, there's a kind of a ovally shaped nipple, metal nipple on here. That goes inside the clip, and then the metal clip, which I've got here, pushes on. So the best way to attack this is I went around all the edges of it with a screwdriver and lifted it up, because it's obviously rust welded itself to the base plate. Make sure you've got it loose. Then I stuck a screwdriver in this bottom L piece, so in there, and just gently tap it so it's coming away this way, and it will eventually just sproink out, and then you can take this cable off. Now if I take the nut out, you can see this is all loose now. So the strut is just flapping in space. Make sure you don't knacker any of your cables, just keep those out of the way. So there's just that top nut to undo, and then this is free. So I'm going to put that nut back in again just to hold it in place. Take the 13mm off the top, then we can pull this out and take the strut out. Right, behold the carnage. Strut is now out. In fact, it's here on the ground. And here you can see where the spring is broken. So inside this plastic doodah, you can see the end of the spring there. The rest of it is in my scrap bin. Okay, to get the top off, let me show you. I need to undo this nut. So I'm kind of cheating a bit. This is an 18mm nut. I've not really got an 18mm spanner. I never really get them in sets. So I'm cheating a little bit, and I've got a 19-inch spanner round there, just holding it in place, and I'm screwing the thread into the nut using my super duper new from Halfords 6mm hex drive thingy. So I put the spanner that's too big over the nut, and then put the hex in there, and if I hold the spanner it's enough to be able to screw that round. So I'm going to screw it all the way in until the nut comes off, then the top will come off. The spring compressor is holding the spring, and I've taken a bit of the pressure off, but because the spring is a lot shorter now because the bit's fallen off, I kind of not got enough room to get it completely tight. But it's relatively safe, because when the top comes off the spring won't really go anywhere. Do be careful with springs, they get an incredible amount of power in them. If you're not careful they will hurt you. So I'll continue to screw this in, and then I'll be able to pick the camera back up again and show you the results. Probably me getting in the ambulance. Right, so I've survived. There's the top. Here's the spring with the compressor on just to hold it. And this is the thread we were working on. And the nut is one of them ones with a big skirt on it. So what we do now is, I've lost my bit I was going to show you. Here it is. So this was wrapped around the bottom of the spring. It goes in on the metal plate. So I'm going to wrap that around the bottom of the new spring, compress the new spring, and then it's, you know, reverse of removal. So I'll get the new spring out and we'll check it out where it goes, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, just a quick note about the spring. This is the new spring, and what you notice about these is there's one end is a bit more pigtaily than the other. So I don't know if you can tell by looking at it, if I show it from a distance, this end is quite flat, and this one has got quite a bit of a curl on it. And if you look at the top, you can see where the old spring has been sitting. So there's the end of it, look, and then it's gone round there. So that fits perfectly in the cap, look. This end does not. So this is the bottom, and if you look at this in the actual thing there is a little stop here. You can see it. There's a little metal stop where my finger is, and that sits perfectly in there. So obviously make sure when you're doing this that you actually put your new spring in the right way up, because there is an up and a down. Also, I don't know about you, obviously other spring compressors are available. You need to make sure that when you compress it, this bit is going to then be sticking out somewhere, and sometimes you then can't get the cap on because it's in the bloody way. So I've found that this way up is probably the best. So I'm going to compress this and then we'll have a go at getting the top back on. Now this should be an exciting bit to film. So the spring is compressed, I've got two on it, one either side. At the bottom here, you can see the bottom of the spring is up against its little stop, which is there. It's got its little cover on that was on it, and at the top we've got the nut showing, the thread showing. So now we have to put the big nut on the top, tighten it up, and then we can take these babies off. Right, so all I've done is I've put the hex socket in the middle again, held it in place with the spanner, and then just wound this through back out. And what that effectively does is it tightens the nut. Well, it'll only go so far, so you just keep going until you can't undo this anymore. So that comes off. That now is tightly on. So now spring compressors off and we can put the strut back in the car now. So spring's fully released now. I think what I'll do is, while I've got access to it, I'm going to tighten up these nuts on this stabiliser arm thing while I've got great access, and then I won't have to do it in the confines of the wheel arch, and now we just need to push this back where it came from. Right, so we're nearly there. The bolts are in, ABS clip back in. I made a boo-boo where the thing now has to go around the back rather than around the front, but I can't see what difference that makes. Clip for the brakes are in. I've got the nut on the control arm, so these just need tightening up, and the three nuts are in at the top. So it's just a job of tightening everything up now. Okay, so do up the three top nuts. A good cheat here is to use this little trap door that they've given you, little rubber flap, and you can put the extension for your socket through there. Just makes it a bit easier to get some purchase on it and get it angled right. Fasten these two up. Now the top, where my fingers are here, there's like a little fat rubber tab. See if you can see it sticking up. For orientation you can check the other side, and on the other side the tab is facing into the engine bay, right across the engine bay this way, and it's on this side. So on the opposite side it's on this side, and then you can use that to line up these holes. Okay, thanks for watching.